And you still on to Business Daily on Trust TV. And just before we went on the break, I did say a lot has happened with regards to the NGX right here in Nigeria, from major losses that we witnessed last week to major earnings reports that we did see from major companies, again, showing losses from these companies. And also today we do expect for Transcorp Power to be listed on the NGX. So much is happening, and what should we expect moving forward? My guest, who is a stockbroker, Charles Fakrogha, is now with me. Thank you, Charles, for joining us on Business Daily this morning.
Good morning, Chiamaka. Thank you for having me on your show.
Thank you indeed for joining us. Let us start off with how the markets fared in the month of February. About 650 billion naira lost in the month of February. What do you make of this, and what were the contributing factors to the major losses within the NGX in the past month?
Yes, thank you. You can see from January and December, January, the market was upbeat, up. I'd always maintain that if you have a market like that, then it's not a complete market. A time will come where the market will begin to correct itself. And it was easy in February. We could see some of the things that happened. The fixed income rate was up. We saw federal government savings bond. We also saw treasury bills. And there is an interplay between movement of funds from the capital market to the money that the fixed income space. So we saw that playing out in February. We saw a lot of sell-off to go and invest in the fixed income market, at the same time the treasury space. So you can see that there is an interplay between the demand and the supply. So once people are buying and selling, prices are meant to go up and down. And of course, as an investor, if you have received a certain return, then of course it's for you to sell off. So there were a lot of sell-offs in the month of February, not because these companies are not doing well, but because some investors have got their target, so they need to take profit. So we saw a lot of profit taking in the month of February, and of course we saw the interest rate being increased. So that will make investors to reposition their portfolio and begin to do more of the fixed income and also treasury bills.
You have touched on the monetary policy rate being increased. Last week, of course, we did hear from the Monetary Policy Committee of the Central Bank, where the rate was increased to 22.7%. But let us hear from you. There are, insinuations that investors just might migrate to fixed income securities within this period of time. Do you agree with this school of thought?
Yes, like I said, the financial market is like one. So if as an investor, you are in the capital market, you are getting returns there. I know it is more risky in the capital market compared to the fixed income space, which is also another aspect of the capital market. So, and most investors want to be sure, guaranteed return. So in the fixed income space, there is guaranteed return. And from the NPRO doing over 22.75, it is likely that most of the fixed income instruments, the interest rate or the coupon rate is likely to go up. As we have seen it playing out, even the government treasury bill was done at 21%. So you can see that investors will want to realize some of the gains they have made in the equity space and move to the fixed income space and also the treasury space.
Okay, let's now talk to issues around, the major losses we saw from major companies towards the end of last week. Speaking of MTN Nigeria, Dangote Sugar Refinery, BUA Cement, and the likes, which recorded about 767%, foreign exchange losses in the year 2023. Let us hear from you. How are investors reacting to these earnings reports from these major companies?
Okay, well, for any investor that you are monitoring your portfolio very well, you are in touch with your stockbroker, it is obvious that even look at the challenges in 2023. Started the year, Naira redesign, problem and there, cash scarcity and all that, election, then of course, the tourism, subsidy is done, then before we knew what, the flotation of the Naira and all that. You will expect that this is going to impact on the operations of some of these companies that have foreign exchange exposure. And that's what we are just seeing in the likes of Nestle, MTN, as we have mentioned. Now, for me, it is just a 1 year currency loss from this company. So investors should not just abandon those companies. You now begin to look at what measures these companies are put in place to ensure that they mitigate this kind of exposure and losses. And as long as these companies are still doing so well in terms of their market size, I think investors can still remain in those companies and see how they trend for the remaining part of this year. Yes, just a 1 year FX issue is not enough to abandon any company that has been well for quite some time.
But Mr. Charles, help us understand. I mean, most of these companies declared their increase in revenue, but how then are we seeing them also declare, their worst performance in recent years? Can you help us break down this, because it seems as though it's a bit confusing. Revenue on one hand, and then recording also worst performance that they have seen in a long time on the other hand.
Simply, they were all exposed to currency revaluation. Now, you have in your books Naira, and at a certain price with the dollar, maybe pre-June, you are saying maybe $1 to let's say about 500 Naira. And when the Naira was now allowed to float, you are now seeing a devaluation of that currency. So it's going to affect the value of whatever asset you have in Naira. So, and that is the issue why they are telling you they are declaring a lot of foreign exchange losses. So your 100 million Naira will no longer be 100 million Naira again in terms of looking at the value of the Naira to a dollar. That is why, and in some cases they're telling you shareholders fund has been wiped out. It's just basically, it is not an operational loss. It's just basically an asset loss. And I think that the companies will come up with their strategy and see how, moving forward, they can now begin to stabilize gradually.
Like you've said, indeed, we keep our fingers crossed and hope to see that these companies come up with newer strategies to, address those. But in other news, we do expect for Transcorp Power to be listed on the NGX today. And it is boasting of a market debut of about 1.8 trillion Naira, surpassing the companies that have more than, 1 trillion Naira market capitalization. Can you speak to that? What is currently going on the floor of the exchange regarding the listing of Transcorp Power?
Well, Transcorp Power is coming to list, and they have told us about this. Do the simple calculation. Their market cap is at 1.8 trillion. That is, they're talking about 240 Naira per share, and the number of shares they are going to be listing is about 7.5 billion shares. That's why they arrive at that 1.8 trillion Naira market capitalization. It's a good right direction. It's a good development. It's the second in the utility sector. We have seen Enendu coming to list, and we have seen how Enendu has been performing. But for me, if you look at Transcorp Power, it is coming by way of introduction. That is, no new funds are being raised. It is the existing shares that are going to be listed tomorrow. Today, in a couple of hours now. And if you look at the structure, you will still see that the price will still continue to go up because the free float is not up to 20%. But we believe that with time, they'll be able to meet the exchange regulation to ensure that enough of their shares is in public hands. For now, it is tightly held. Transcorp itself has over 50% of those shares. But we think it is good. It's not becoming a public liability company. It's a public company quoted. Me and you can buy shares from it. But my advice to Transcorp, it is not just for the ceremony of listing, because other Transcorp subsidiaries have been listed. The issue here now is, how do you make power available to the common man? With the listing of Transcorp Power, is it going to improve our less than 3,000 megawatts that we produce in Nigeria? We just need to begin to ask those kind of questions. When it comes to electricity generation, electricity transmission, electricity distribution, and of course the consumption, which is the metering. So Transcorp is coming to the public and Nigerians will now have the opportunity to ask them some of these technical questions. So that they are telling us that they have 70 megawatts here, 70 megawatts there. We just hope that this will add to the national grid, because they have become a public company and people can begin to ask them questions as to their performance, and let's see whether that will improve our power sector, because no nation can develop without the power sector being
Indeed, no sector can develop without the power sector. Shortly before you go, Charles, we also understand that, Transcorp is listing as a separate entity away from Transcorp Hotels, but still underneath the Transcorp group. What are your predictions in terms of performance? Of course, we have seen, Transcorp Hotel, do quite well on the floor of the exchange, emerging as one of the top performing stocks from the year 2023. But what is your prediction for Transcorp Power moving forward?
Well, I've already told you. You will just see, even when it is listed, you will see that the price will go up beyond what they are listing. And of course, with time, the markets will price it very well. And I see the Transcorp Power PLC, the shares going up in the sort of few days. Then, of course, stabilizing when demand and supply will be enough in the market. And I think it's a company that Nigerian investors should look into and partake in it.
Okay, just before we go, Mr. Charles, what is your outlook for the month of March? Like I started off during the interview section, I did say that we saw tremendous losses in the month of February, increased sell-offs by investors in the month of February. Do you expect for that to continue moving forward as the month of March has started and trading has started for this month? Do you expect to see the same trend in the month of March?
Well, I see a mixed trend in the market. That is, we're expecting some companies to send their numbers to the market, more are sending their numbers to the market, and the performance of these companies will determine the pricing of their securities in the market. So I see a mixed trade. I see some companies going up. I also see some companies coming down. Then the whole, we will see an improvement in the overall ASI of the market, because we are in a new month. And of course, we're looking at the end of a first quarter, and we begin to see so many companies rebalancing, their portfolio. And with that, while awaiting Q1 results that will be coming out maybe after March, we will see investors positioning themselves to partake in some of the good numbers that will be coming to the market when it comes to after the full year, the Q1. So I see a mixed market in March. Prices likely to go up, but of course, we'll see some prices coming down.
Charles Fakrogha, stockbroker, speaking to us as I speak from Custom Street, where the NGX is located in Lagos. Thank you for joining us on Business Daily.
It's a pleasure talking to you. Thank you.
Thank you. Again, I'd just like for us to touch on the companies. And we saw, like I said before, major earnings reports coming from diverse companies towards the end of last week, from MTN, from Cadbury, from major companies, including Nestle Nigeria, Dangote Sugar. I believe we have that chart at the back end, if we can have it on the screen, where, major companies listed showing, major losses from last week for the end of 2023. Speaking of Dangote Sugar, we did see major losses to the tune of 172.2 in forex terms, like our guest had mentioned. We also did see reports coming from MTN Nigeria, from BUA Cement there, as you can see on your screen, from Nestle, from Lafarge, again reporting major losses. However, I'd just like to point out that we also did see increase in revenues coming from Lafarge, but losses at the other end. We also did see reports coming from Nigerian breweries, from Cadbury, from Itana, and from BUA Sugar. Well, this is the point where we say goodbyes on today's edition of the program Business Daily, which is coming to you on Trust TV. Today, we did look at the market and, of course, looking forward, what do we expect for the month of March? But join the conversation on social media. Let us hear from you. If you are an ardent investor within the NGX, what should we expect moving forward? Drop your comment and let's have a conversation on social media. My name is Chiamaka Enendu. Thank you for watching and bye for now.